Tales. This is your boy Abdel on Dale Tales Podcast. Thank you guys for joining us again today. So today we got to go over real quickly, man, what happened with Week 7 in football. And there's a lot of crazy things that happened this past weekend. And I think a lot of people are not paying attention to how much this can really shake up college football. So let's go over this real quick and check this out. Finally, Ohio State came out on defense in a 4-3 defense. And I actually talked about this last week, where they came out in a 4-2-5 that was really terrible, and Maryland was running all over it. And this time, they actually took a DB and lined him up as a third linebacker. And what it's doing is it's creating a lot of confusion. But on offense, there's still a really slow start to the game. Very slow start. And it's really hard to really try to understand exactly why all these slow starts are still happening. And it seems like it's just a coaching decision. You know, they're not really building up Kyle McCord's confidence once again. You know, his passes are all over the place. Sometimes they're too far to the left, to the right, they're too high. The passes to Marvin Harrison Jr. are just being broken up because they really never had a chance. So there's really a lot going on that we really have to pay real close attention to here in this situation, because it really can make a big difference. When it comes to Penn State, you know, they really need to adjust in this game, because from the first quarter, it seems like their entire game plan was based on what Ohio State has been doing on defense over the last couple of weeks, being in that 4-2-5, so they could run the ball up the middle and do other things just to keep it going. But what they really need to realize is Ohio State is not doing the same thing, and yet the coaches are not adjusting to it. So you still see Penn State trying to run the ball up the gut. You still see them trying to throw crossing routes and under man coverage with a third linebacker, and that's making it really hard for quarterback to read the defense. And they're just not putting him in the best position to win right now. So I really hope that's something that they really adjust to in the second half. The D-line for Ohio State is playing much better, so they're actually able to get a little bit of pressure on the quarterback, or the linebackers are able to come in and blitz and actually get to the quarterback. So the quarterback is actually being rushed a little bit, which is also helping them. Penn State on defense really should stop beating themselves. I don't know if there's any other way that I can say that. It is as blatant as that. You know, going from a fumble recovery to scoring a touchdown, for that coming back due to a holding penalty, and then right after that a pass interference, and then another penalty, it leads to an Ohio State rushing touchdown. That's really sad to see, because Penn State is actually doing pretty well defensively overall, but they started beating themselves, yet still at halftime they're only down 10-6, so still kudos to them. And once again, the same thing that I say about Penn State. In all honesty, you take away that touchdown, it's a 6-6 game. So Penn State is literally beating themselves. And the question is, what adjustments will they make once again, just to come out and show us that, hey, we learned from this in the first half and the coaches have caught on to this, and we need to stop doing exactly what it is that we are doing. Now, the most confusing part of the entire first half for me is actually from Ohio State. With 41 seconds left, you would think you have 3 timeouts, you can drive down the field, potentially even get a field goal or something, just to help spread the scoring a little bit. But no, they come in and take a knee. That kind of makes me question the coaching a little bit. Maybe they don't trust the quarterback at the moment. Maybe they're not seeing what they expected to see. Maybe the defense from Penn State is playing a lot better than they expected. Maybe the same thing is happening on the Ohio State side. Maybe all the game review that they did coming up to this game is quite different than what is happening on the field. So this is something definitely to keep an eye on. But let's watch the second half of this game, and we'll come back to this and we'll see what's going on. So now that we are looking at the second half of the Ohio State-Penn State game, just like I told you guys, I was expecting a lot of adjustments to happen from the first half over to the second. That's not necessarily what happened. But Ohio State came out, and it seemed like they wanted to open up the playbook around 7 minutes left in the third quarter. They threw a great crossing route over to Marvin Harrison. He went and got 30 yards, and then they threw the ball straight over to Cade Stover, who then eventually went for another 27, and the Buckeyes are finally moving the ball the way they should have been the whole game. So at this point, when you're watching the game, you actually start to notice Kyle McCord's confidence is actually building up. He's playing a lot better. He's playing stronger and everything. And then they get down into the red zone, inside the 10-yard line. And what is the first thing the coaches do? Take Kyle McCord out of the game. Now, this one kind of threw me for a spin for a little bit, because I didn't quite understand the reason why you would do this. They brought in Devin Brown, looks like just to sneak the ball in. Wait, what? Why couldn't they just simply do that with Kyle McCord. I was a little bit confused by that decision, especially from the coaches. We're already ending the first half, 41 seconds left on the clock. You have 3 timeouts, and you decide to take a knee to go to halftime. That's very questionable. That doesn't make any sense to me. And then you come back out from halftime. You get down into the red zone, then you take your quarterback out for the backup quarterback to try to sneak it in. And what was the result of all this? The ball was turned over at around the 2-yard line. None of this makes sense at all. So after the turnover at the 2-yard line, Penn State comes out on the field. They go 3 and out. They're punting the ball back out. Now, when they punt the ball, there's an Ohio State defender trying to block still, and for some reason, the guy who should have been catching the ball, the receiver on the other end, never yelled out, clear, 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 so his blocker can actually know to get out of the way. That was actually quite interesting and a really big mental mistake because the ball ends up touching the blocker. Penn State gets the ball around midfield, and it changes the whole momentum of the game. Now, the defense has to come back on the field after they just got off the field due to a messed up punt. And as soon as the defense gets on the field, you see they're taking really deep breaths. They're a little bit tired, which is understandable. This is still the game of football. People are going to get tired. That's normal. Eichenberg jumps on a really bad offsides play that I'm not quite sure I still fully understand. But that's exactly what happened. So that's neither here nor there, whether it happened or not. It just looked like it was a mental mistake simply because he was tired. And it probably helped him catch his breath a little bit more. Not just him, maybe the rest of the defense also. So although it was a mental mistake, it might have actually been one of those penalties that's a good penalty. Simply thinking about his defense. If he's tired, his defense gets a few extra seconds to catch their breath. That actually might have been a really smart penalty. And then shortly after, of course, getting this extra breath, JT Tuimoloau comes out, gets a sack. By the way, we'll definitely be seeing that guy play on a lot of Sundays. So that's not going to shock anybody. But, he definitely comes out, gets the sack, the defense gets pumped, and this is a real great defensive game. I know a lot of people out there are like, they want to see the scoreboards absolutely blown out and maxed out. They want to see 65 points on the board, 70 points on the board. I'm not one of those people. I'm one of those people where I am a defensive-minded football person to begin with. So I want to see tough, shut-down defenses and offenses that have to figure a way around this, and coaching that actually all comes together to make it one. And then shortly after, we go to the fourth quarter. Penn State comes out on defense with 4 down linemen. Now, this was interesting because most of the game, they were actually only using 3 down linemen. So what ended up happening in this was actually very straightforward. Ohio State just figured out their defense, was able to throw the ball up the seam, crossing routes, and things of that nature. 3 plays later, Penn State figures out the problem. Then they change from 4 down linemen back to 3. Once again, Ohio State's offense was shut down at this point. As we get closer to the end of the game, Ohio State is trying to run out the clock. The running game is absolutely non-existent. It's not really helping them kill the clock. Then, of course, what do you have to do? Go to your most trusted player, Marvin Harrison Jr. He gets a crossing route. He gets in the end zone for a touchdown. They go up in that lead 20-12. And that's really kind of the story of the game. It's a very big defensive game. Ohio State could not move the ball on the ground, so even in the fourth quarter, they could not kill the clock. Penn State looked like they did not even have an offensive game plan. Seriously, they looked like they were trying to play the Ohio State of a few weeks ago, which made too many mistakes that they cleaned up. So I'm not exactly sure what was the game plan for Penn State, but whatever it was, it clearly did not work. And I really hope Penn State plays Michigan a little bit better than that, because I still think Michigan is better than both Penn State and Ohio State. And if Penn State comes to Michigan like that, they will get blown off the field. And Ohio State also, great defensive showing, but it's going to have to get a little bit tighter, especially around the box, the front 8, front 9, front 7, whatever's there, because that Michigan offensive line is the best in the country by far. And maybe all 5 starters on that offensive line will be in the NFL very soon if they decide to come out this year. That will not shock anybody. But definitely tell me what you guys think about, the games today. And we will be covering more games from this Saturday also, because there has been some great killer games today. And guys, please like and subscribe. It definitely helps the channel. gets it in front of more viewers and everything. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good day. Peace out, y'all.